What's up, guys? Hey, Jared Beckstrand here, Doctor of Physical Therapy, ToneAndTighten.com, and these are 10 of the best stretches to loosen up your tight hips. What's up, everyone? Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. Did you know that your hips are your second most mobile joint in your body behind your shoulder? However, when they get tight and when your hips aren't as loose and mobile as they should be, oftentimes this can lead to pain, and frequently it's manifest either in the joint below, down in the knee, or the joint above, up in that lower back area. Now, fortunately, there's a lot that the right stretches and exercises can do to increase range of motion in your hips and decrease pain in those areas, and that is exactly what I wanted to share with you today. These are 10 of my favorite stretches that are going to help you keep your hips moving and mobile and hopefully avoid pain in those areas. In this video, I want to cover everything. We're going to hit the front, the back, the outside, the inside, as well as those areas that rotate your hips. Before we get started, however, I need to just quickly mention, if you recently had hip surgery, and especially if you recently had hip replacement, please don't do these exercises without your doctor or physical therapist's permission, as some of them will be contraindications. That being said, let's get into these right now. Up first, let's get started with some stretches for your hip extensors, or the glute group in the back of your hip. Frequently gets tight, especially with lower back pain. So the first one that I like is going to be a single knee to chest stretch. Very simply, you're going to lay down on your back, pull one knee up. With my hands, I'm going to clasp around my knee and then just pull, give myself a little pressure to pull that knee up and in towards my chest. Now, if that's painful to your knee, you can grasp behind your knee. If laying flat on the bed or on a bench or on the floor hurts your back, the other leg can come up to alleviate some of that tension. But I do want you to feel that stretch right through this glute muscle in the back. You're going to hold that for 20 seconds and you can repeat it 3 times, and I always advocate that you do it on both sides. Stretch number 2 is very similar for your hip extensors, except now we're going to add a little bit more of a lateral stretch by pulling to the inside. So same position, so single knee to chest, we're going to pull straight up, but now with my left hand, I've got that on my right knee, I'm going to pull kind of up and over. So now my right knee is coming up and towards my left shoulder, and again, what you should feel is a little bit more of a stretch on the outside part of your hip. Take it to where it's a comfortable stretch, hold it for 20 seconds, and repeat that 3 times. Next, let me show you 2 of my favorite stretches for your hip flexors, or these muscles right here in the front of your hips. The first one, probably the one that I like the best, is going to be a tall kneeling stretch. You're going to get down on one knee. Right now I'm on my left knee. That's the one that I'm going to be stretching out with this exercise. My right leg is way out here in front, and then all I'm going to do is maintain a nice tall posture and lean forward and kind of lunge forward onto this right leg. Now, if that hurts your knee, please put a pillow or a pad or something underneath there to unload some of that pressure. But as you lean forward, I don't want your torso to round forward this way. I want you to stay up in this nice tall position until a comfortable stretch is felt right there in the front of your hip. Same thing applies here, 20 seconds, and repeat that 3 times. Now, a lot of people don't really tolerate that kneeling down on that knee. If you have any knee pain or if that pressure is too much, you can also do this stretch in a supine or in a laying on your back position. What you're going to do is get into this position right here. At home, I recommend that you do it on your bed. That usually tends to be about the right height. But if I wanted to stretch this left hip out, what I would do is grab my right knee and kind of pull that up towards my chest, hold that position while I lay down on my back. Now you'll see that in this position, as I'm pulling my right knee in towards my chest, my left leg is extended out and kind of dangling off the edge of the bed. In this position, you're going to feel that stretch on the front of your hip. Another great option to stretch out those hip flexors, especially if that tall kneeling stretch aggravates your knee. Now you're going to hold a comfortable stretch. You're going to do that for 20 seconds, and then you're going to repeat that 3 times on the left and 3 times on the right. So we've done front and back. Let's do outside and inside. Now, to stretch out those tight hip abductors, I've got 2 stretches that I like. The first one's going to be laying down on your back. For this one, you will need a belt or a towel or a sheet, just something long that doesn't really stretch. I've got a stretch out strap if you're interested in picking one of these up. See the link in the description down below. Now for this one, in order to stretch the muscles on the outside of my hip, I need to pull my leg basically towards the inside. Now, in order to do that, I'm down here, I'm on my back, my left leg is straight, I'm going to stretch out my right leg. I've got that strap right around there, both my hands are grabbing either end, and then with my hands, I'm going to guide that leg over towards you. So my right leg, with my hands, I'm pulling it over towards the left until I get a good stretch on the back and outside of that right hip. A lot of times we can even grab with one hand if you need even more of a stretch to kind of pull that even further out in that spot. And that one's tight on me, you guys. I would take that to a comfortable end range. I would hold it there for 20 seconds and I would repeat it 3 times. Now, option number 2 is going to be in standing. If I still want to stretch that right hip out, what I'm going to do is with my left leg, cross it way over my right leg and then push my hips towards my right side. And so again, to stretch out this right hip, I'm crossing over with my left leg, I'm pushing my hips out towards the right until I get a good stretch in that outside part of my hip. I tell people if you want to take that even a step further, with my right hand, I can reach up and over this way. I'm essentially trying to make this side of my body as long as possible in order to get a good stretch in that right hip abductor. Hold it for 20 seconds and repeat that 3 times. Now to stretch out the adductors, those are the muscles that are inside your leg, your groin, or your inner thigh. I've got 2 stretches to show you for that. The first one is going to be a seated adductor stretch. You're going to get into a seated position, put the soles of your feet together. How far you can bring your feet towards you is going to depend on your flexibility, but the closer that you can get them, the more of a stretch you're going to feel in that adductor area. Now, really simply, what I'm going to do with my elbows is just add a little bit of pressure to the inside part of my knee. So with my hands, I'm holding onto my feet. With my elbows, I'm trying to push my knees down towards the table or down towards the floor until that comfortable stretch is felt on the inside part of your leg. You're gonna hold that for 20 seconds and repeat it 3 times. Now, if you can't get into the seated position or if you don't have the motion available to assume this position, you can also stretch those adductors out in a standing position as follows. So now, I'm standing, I'm gonna stretch this right adductor out. I'm just gonna take a big step over to the left with my left leg and then just introduce a little bit of a squat to that left side. In this position, you'll see that I'm pulling and I'm stretching through this right hip adductor. So as I get down into this position right here, the lower that I go, the more I'm going to feel that in those hip adductors. So that would be a stretch to the right. If I wanted to stretch the left side out, I just come over here, right about there, just so that it feels like that. Until we get a comfortable stretch on the inside part of your leg, you're gonna hold it for 20 seconds, repeat it 3 times. And then finally, let's finish up with a couple of rotation stretches. In order to stretch into an internal rotation motion, I'm going to lay down on my back and I'm going to separate my knees out nice and wide. Now, what I can do in this position is I'm going to let this right knee drop to the inside in this motion until I get a comfortable stretch in my hip. I feel that towards kind of the outside and a little bit in the back of my hip. I'm gonna hold that for 20 seconds, come up out of it, and then do the same thing over here on the left side. And again, I feel that kind of on the outside of the left hip. This one often gets tight in patients with lower back pain, and so keep that in mind as you're doing this stretch. So we would repeat that 3 times, 20 seconds to each side. My final stretch, and the one that I probably perform the most often, is going to be an external rotation stretch. This one gets tight in pretty much everyone that has lower back pain. So if you've got some lower back pain going on, you definitely want to keep this stretch in mind. To stretch out my left hip, what I'm going to do is lay on my back with both knees bent. I'm going to cross this left leg over my right, and then with my hands, I'm going to reach down behind that right side and then pull that right knee up into my lower back. Now, the stretch isn't on the right side, that stretch is on the left side. You're gonna feel it kind of across your glutes It's a muscle called the piriformis. It gets tight with a lot of people. And so again, left leg is crossed over the right. I'm going to grab behind the right knee, and then as I pull that up towards me, just until I get a good, comfortable stretch in the back of my left hip. You're gonna hold that for 20 seconds, and then we can come over here to the other side. Right leg is crossed over the left, pull on that left knee up towards you until you get a good, comfortable stretch. Hold that for 20 seconds, and then we're going to repeat that 3 times. Now, if you guys are looking for more great home stretching routines, I've got an entire playlist put together that's going to help you out. You can get that right here. If you're looking for a mobility routine that's going to help generally all over kind of total body mobility, be sure to check that out right here. If you haven't subscribed to Tone and Tighten yet, hit this circle button right here so that you never miss a new video from me. Hope this helped you guys out, and I can't wait to see you next time right here on Tone and Tighten.